Can I join you for a meal? The words pierced the serene atmosphere of the upscale restaurant like a sudden clap of thunder. Nathan Cole lifted his gaze from the untouched plate before him, startled. Standing there was a small girl, barefoot and covered in dirt, clad in a threadbare dress that barely clung to her frail frame. She appeared no older than 8, her hair a tangled mess, her skin dark and parched from the elements. But it was her eyes, those weary, exhausted eyes, that struck him the most. "I'm hungry," she stated plainly. "Please." Before Nathan could gather his thoughts, a voice from across the room erupted. "There's a vagrant in here. Someone call the cops." Another man chimed in, brandishing his phone. "I already did. This is a private establishment." Unbelievable. The Mercer Grill was a sanctuary of affluence, a place where no child like her had ever set foot, unless they were part of the cleaning crew. In just 3 words, this girl had shattered the illusion of exclusivity. Nathan rose slowly, his silence heavy in the air. He scanned the restaurant, noting the judgment, fear, and annoyance etched on the faces around him. He turned back to the girl, still waiting expectantly. "What's your name?" he asked. She blinked, hesitating. "Maya." He pulled out the chair opposite him and gestured. "Sit down, Maya." Gasps rippled through the dining room. "You can't be serious," the maitre d' stammered. "She's my guest," Nathan replied firmly. Before Maya could fully settle into her seat, the double door swung open, and 2 police officers strode in, their eyes sweeping the room. One officer pointed. "We received a report of a minor trespassing." Nathan raised a hand. "She's not trespassing. She's with me." The second officer frowned. "Is she your daughter?" "No," Nathan replied, his voice steady. "But she's under my protection for now." One of the officers stepped closer. "Sir, if she's not family, we have to." Nathan reached into his inner jacket pocket and produced a leather card holder. "Cole, Nathan, you'll find I've donated to both of your precincts in the last 2 years. Please, give us a moment." The officers exchanged glances, hesitating. After a tense pause, they relented. "We'll wait outside, sir." As they turned to leave, a sudden click echoed from a corner booth. A young man in glasses lowered his phone, a grin spreading across his face. Within moments, he had typed, "Famous tech billionaire shares dinner with homeless girl at 5-star restaurant. Altruism or publicity stunt," and hit post. The image of Nathan standing over a barefoot black girl in the Mercer Grill went viral in under 6 minutes. Back at the table, Maya clutched the edge of the napkin as if it were made of porcelain. She hadn't touched the bread. Nathan sat down, softening his tone. "It's okay. You're safe now." She looked at him, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "You really don't want me to leave?" "I invited you, didn't I?" Her face relaxed slightly. Nathan leaned in. "Where are your parents, Maya?" She stared at her plate. "Gone. Gone. There was a flood. A big one. Mama couldn't swim. Daddy tried to hold me above the water." Her voice trailed off. If this story resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on the importance of showing kindness when no one else will. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share where you're watching from. And if stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful moments that remind us of our shared humanity. Nathan's throat tightened. "And now I sleep under the highway. There's a bridge near the canal. It's dry most nights." He struggled to find words. All the business meetings, contracts, and polished dinners felt insignificant compared to this child's raw, quiet pain. Just then, his phone rang. It was Kara, his PR chief. "Nathan, what are you doing?" "I'm having dinner," he replied dryly. "Every network is calling. That photo is already on 5 blogs. People are divided. Some think it's beautiful. Others think you're using her for attention. You need to leave now, or at least release a statement." He glanced at Maya, who was now gently spooning soup into her mouth, careful not to spill. Her small hands trembled as she tried not to eat too quickly. "I'm not releasing anything," he said, hanging up. Across the room, the judgment continued. A woman hissed, "He's ruining this place." A man whispered, "Is this performance art?" Nathan ignored the murmurs and pushed his plate toward Maya. Try this salmon. It's good with the potatoes. She hesitated, then tasted a piece. Her eyes widened. That's real fish. He chuckled softly. The realest. She ate slowly, gracefully. Her manners were impeccable despite her circumstances. It wasn't just hunger she carried, it was dignity. Nathan watched her for a long while, then leaned back and declared to the entire room, no one should have to ask for the right to eat. Outside, the world continued to spin, phones buzzing, headlines flashing. But inside that quiet table, something profound had begun. Nathan didn't touch his food. He simply observed Maya eat with quiet intensity, as if every bite she took was stitching something back together inside him. She savored each morsel, her eyes darting between her plate and Nathan's face, as if she still expected someone to pull her away at any moment. But no one did. The police remained outside, and the maitre d' lingered near the kitchen, lips pressed thin, unwilling to escalate the scene. From the bar, 2 guests left in disgust. One muttered loud enough for others to hear, "This place is going downhill fast." Maya didn't notice. She was too focused on the food and the warmth, not just of the soup, but of the space around her. Her tiny hands clutched the cloth napkin as if it were spun gold. Nathan leaned in, trying to ease the tightness in his chest. "How long have you been out there under the bridge?" She paused. "Since July, after the storm." "You've been on your own all that time." "On my good days, I see other kids, but they don't stay long. Some adults come and go. I just stay quiet so nobody bothers me." Her words came without drama, devoid of victimhood, just facts spoken by a child who had no room left for illusions. He asked, "How do you eat?" She shrugged. "Sometimes I ask for scraps. Sometimes I find food behind grocery stores. Not meat, though. I got sick once." Nathan looked down, his jaw clenched. He had sat in meetings with world leaders and negotiated deals worth billions, but none of that had prepared him for this. Listening to a child describe survival as if it were just another school subject. The waitress returned with a second bowl of soup. Hesitant, Nathan nodded, motioning for her to set it down beside Maya. "Thank you," Maya said, placing it gently on the table. "My grandma grew up in a camp during the war. She would have wanted me to say, 'Thank you, sir.'" Nathan offered a small smile. "It's not me you should thank." The waitress turned to Maya. "Enjoy, sweetheart." Then she slipped away. Maya glanced at Nathan. "Is it okay to have seconds?" "You can have as much as you want." Her face lit up with a smile so radiant it took his breath away. Just then, Nathan's phone vibrated again. He ignored it. Then it buzzed twice more. He sighed, pulling it from his jacket. Kara had texted. "It's gone national. Fox wants a statement. And T reaching out. Comments are split. This could affect your board votes." Another message followed seconds later. "Trending. Maya and the Millionaire. You need to address this." Nathan stared at the screen, then slowly placed the phone face down. "You're famous now," he told Maya with a gentle smirk. She tilted her head. "Is that good or bad?" "Depends on who you ask." She picked at the bread roll, then asked, "Are you in trouble?" "Maybe a little." Maya's face tightened. "Because of me?" "No," Nathan said quickly. "Because of people who think kids like you don't belong in places like this." She blinked. "I didn't mean to break rules. I just wanted to stop being hungry." Nathan let out a slow breath. "You didn't break any rules. They were broken before you got here." Outside, more camera flashes erupted. A second news van parked across the street. The maitre d' approached, voice low, trying to remain professional. "Mr. Cole, perhaps we could move you and the child to our private lounge. It's more discreet." Nathan stood, pushing his chair back slowly. The maitre d' hesitated. "Sir, there are guests feeling." "They'll live," Nathan replied, scanning the room. "We're finishing our dinner right here." He turned to the maitre d'. "And bring her dessert, the good one." "The chocolate torte, sir?" "No, the cheesecake." "Yes, sir." When they sat back down, Maya leaned over the table. "You don't have to do all this. I just wanted food." Nathan nodded. "I know, but you're going to get more than that." "Like what?" He paused. Well, we'll see. She smiled again, then asked, Why are you being nice to me? Nathan leaned back, the question hitting him harder than he expected. Because someone should have been nice to me when I was your age. Maya didn't respond. She simply took his words and folded them into the space between them, like a soft pillow she could rest on. The cheesecake arrived minutes later, elegantly plated. Maya gasped. It's so pretty. Not as pretty once you eat it, Nathan joked. She laughed, a light, breathy sound that made people at nearby tables pause. For once, no one said anything, no protests, no whispers, just quiet. Nathan took a sip of his now cold wine. His phone buzzed again, but he left it on the table. He looked at Maya, then out the window at the flashing lights. The world outside buzzed like a beehive, filled with opinions, stories, and narratives. Let them buzz. He was here now, at a table that had always felt too big for one. And somehow, with this small girl across from him, it finally felt full. Nathan didn't speak much as they exited the restaurant. Maya walked beside him, her fingers still sticky from the cheesecake, clutching the cloth napkin like a talisman. The air outside had turned cold, San Francisco's early evening mist rolling in, damp and unforgiving. Paparazzi flashes erupted the moment they stepped onto the sidewalk. Reporters called out, voices overlapping. Mr. Cole, was this a publicity stunt? Is she really homeless, or just part of your next foundation pitch? Who is the girl? Are you adopting her? Nathan didn't stop. He gently shielded Maya with his arm and walked her toward his car. His driver, Max, stepped out quickly, opening the rear door without question. Maya climbed in, blinking at the leather seats, the scent of pine and polish. Nathan followed and slammed the door behind him. As the car pulled away, Maya sank back wide-eyed. This is like a spaceship, she whispered. Nathan smiled faintly. It just has seat heaters. She ran her hands over the soft upholstery. Smells like flowers. He watched her with a heavy heart. You warm enough? She nodded, still gripping the napkin. It's mine, right? Of course it is. They drove in silence for a few blocks. Maya pressed her nose to the window, watching the world blur by. Then she asked quietly, Where are we going? To my place, Nathan replied. Maya stiffened slightly. I don't have to stay. I can sleep under the bridge again. I know how to be careful. Nathan's chest tightened. No, you don't have to go back there. I don't want to be a bother. You're not. She stared at him, trying to gauge if he meant it. He did. 20 minutes later, they reached the entrance of Nathan's building, an upscale tower overlooking the bay. The doorman gave a slight nod, though his eyes briefly flicked to Maya. Nathan didn't miss it. Inside the penthouse, the floors glowed with soft lighting. Glass walls revealed the glittering cityscape. Maya stepped in, frozen. This is your house. It's one of them. She tiptoed in, as if she might set off an alarm. Nathan set down his keys. You can wash up. The guest bathroom is over there. Take your time. She disappeared down the hall. Nathan exhaled, rubbing his temples, then walked to the bar and poured himself a finger of scotch. He didn't drink it. Instead, he looked out the window, watching the distant lights from the Bay Bridge. He hadn't planned any of this. He only meant to give her dinner. But now, with the headlines exploding and the ache in his chest growing heavier, he knew something had shifted permanently. His phone buzzed again. This time, he picked it up. Kara, I know you're mad, she said before he could speak. But we're in damage control. The photos are now on CNN and HuffPost. Hashtags are trending. Some investors are calling your intentions reckless. Nathan stared at the skyline. Are they? Look, if you're really helping her, then say that. Just let me script something. You don't have to lie. Just frame it. I'm not framing a child. I'm trying to protect your reputation. There was a pause. Nathan said softly, If they care more about optics than the fact that an 8-year-old is sleeping under a bridge, maybe I'm working with the wrong people. Kara sighed. I'll tell the board you're unavailable for statements. Thanks. He hung up. Maya reappeared, wearing one of his oversized t-shirts. Her hair was damp. She looked smaller now, even more fragile in the vast space. Bathroom's big enough to sleep in, she said. He chuckled. You hungry again? She shook her head. Just tired. Nathan showed her to the guest room. Plush carpet, a bed with layers of pillows, a small bookshelf. Maya stood at the doorway, hesitant. You don't have to stay if you're scared, he said gently. I'm not scared, she replied, then added. Just not used to doors. He left the door cracked, just in case. If you need anything, I'm down the hall. She climbed into the bed as if it might vanish. Under the covers, she whispered, Do you always eat alone? Nathan hesitated. Lately? Yeah. She nodded. Me too. He stood in the doorway a moment longer. Good night, Maya. Night, Mr. Nathan. He returned to the living room, sinking into the couch. Outside, the city pulsed on, unaware of the quiet revolution happening in his heart. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Not entirely. Nathan woke early, before the sun rose over the bay. For a few moments, he lay there, unsure whether the events of the night before had been real or imagined. The silence in the penthouse felt different, not empty, but gentle, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He slipped out of bed, padded barefoot into the kitchen, and started the coffee machine. As it hissed to life, he glanced down the hallway toward the guest room. The door was still slightly ajar. He walked over, careful not to make noise. Inside, Maya was curled under the blanket, only her small face peeking out. Her chest rose and fell steadily. On the nightstand, she had neatly folded the cloth napkin from the restaurant and placed it beside a cup of water. He smiled faintly, his heart tightening in that quiet, aching way he hadn't felt in years. He turned to leave, but accidentally bumped a side table. A book toppled. Maya stirred, sitting up quickly, eyes wide. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. No, Nathan said gently. You're fine. You're safe. Maya blinked, the sleep still clinging to her voice. I thought maybe it was a dream. It wasn't. She rubbed her eyes. You have food here. He chuckled. I have a little. Within 15 minutes, Maya was at the kitchen island, legs dangling off the tall stool. Nathan made scrambled eggs and toast, slicing up strawberries into a white porcelain bowl. She ate with quiet gratitude, as if she didn't want to disturb the peace of the morning. As she reached for another piece of toast, she looked up at him. Is it okay if I stay a little longer? Nathan hesitated, but only for a moment. You can stay as long as you need. She smiled a full, unguarded smile. Then, suddenly, her face changed. She looked over his shoulder. The television, muted but still broadcasting, displayed a split screen. One side showed Nathan escorting Maya from the Mercer Grill. The other, a talking head mouthing rapid analysis. Nathan picked up the remote and turned up the volume just in time to hear. Raises questions about motive. Is this a billionaire's act of kindness or a carefully staged media moment? What does it say about our culture that an act of basic decency causes such division? He muted it again. Maya asked quietly, Am I bad news for you? No, he said. The news is just bad at knowing what matters. His phone buzzed. He picked it up, ready to ignore it, but paused at the name. Rosa Ramirez. She was a former colleague. Years ago, Nathan had met her while volunteering at a youth shelter, back before the IPOs and international interviews. Rosa had run the kitchen with tough love and endless patience. He answered, Rosa. Her voice was firm. I saw the news. I figured you might. You got room for another opinion? Always. You're not crazy, Nathan, she said. But if you're serious about helping this girl, you can't just feed her. You need to prepare for the storm. He looked over at Maya, who was now pushing her strawberries into a smiley face on the plate. She's been living under a bridge, he said quietly. I know. I did some checking. That part of town has reports of kids disappearing, taken. No one cares. No one listens. Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. She's lucky you found her. But now she needs more than luck. I'm not letting her go back there. Then you need to build a plan. Legal, safe, secure, and keep the press out of it before they twist her into a narrative. I hear you. Rosa paused. I can help. Hey, he exhaled. Thank you. After the call, He walked back to the kitchen. "You okay?" Maya asked, licking jam off her finger. "I'm okay. Do you feel okay?" She nodded. "This is the best day I ever had." Nathan leaned against the counter. "Maya, would you be open to talking to someone? A friend of mine. She works with kids. Helps them feel safe." Maya looked hesitant. "Like a doctor?" "More like someone who listens. You get to say yes or no to everything." She thought about it. "Okay, as long as she's nice." "She's very nice." Later that afternoon, Rosa arrived. She brought with her a canvas bag full of games, art supplies, and a calm that filled the room. Maya took to her quickly, and soon the two were sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, drawing with colored pencils. Nathan stepped into his office, giving them space. He turned on his laptop and was met with a flood of emails, media inquiries, legal notices, investor concerns, and a message from the school board where he served as a trustee. "We request a meeting to address public perception." He closed the lid. Rosa came in an hour later. "She's bright, guarded, but open." "You did the right thing," Nathan said. "What now?" "She needs stability, not just shelter, school, health care. Someone who won't disappear." "I want to do it." Rosa studied him. "Then let's start the paperwork. She needs a guardian, and you're about to enter a system that doesn't trust people like us just because we have money." "I don't care how long it takes." Rosa smiled. "Good, because it'll take time. But she's worth it." Nathan glanced out the window. Maya had fallen asleep on the couch, cradling a plush teddy bear Rosa had brought. The city lights were just starting to flicker on. "She's already changed everything," he whispered. That night, as he tucked her into bed, Maya mumbled, "If I'm dreaming, don't wake me." "You're not dreaming," he said. "You're home." And for the first time since his own childhood, Nathan felt like he was home too. 2 days later, Nathan sat in a cold, windowless room inside the Department of Child Welfare. The overhead lights hummed faintly. Across from him sat a woman in a navy blazer, her face long forgotten how to soften. "Mr. Cole," she said, adjusting her glasses, "you're applying to become temporary guardian of a minor you met 4 days ago at a restaurant." Nathan leaned forward. "Yes. Do you understand how irregular that is?" "I understand it's not common, but that doesn't make it wrong." She flipped through her tablet. "You have no parenting history. You live alone. You work 80 hours a week. You've had public scrutiny for your business decisions, and now there's a national spotlight on you because of a viral photo. Do you see why we have concerns?" Nathan nodded slowly. "I understand your concerns, but none of that disqualifies me from loving and protecting a child." The woman paused, the first real pause she'd given him. "She's been interviewed by our team," she said. "Her story checks out. Homelessness, the flood, no known relatives, no current guardianship claim." Nathan's jaw tightened. She was living under a bridge, and no one noticed. "Unfortunately, she's one of many." "That's the problem," the woman sighed, tapping her screen. "Our next step is a home visit, background check, psychological evaluation, financial review. If you're serious, it won't be easy." "I'm not looking for easy." "Good, because the system doesn't offer that." Later that afternoon, Nathan picked Maya up from the children's center, where Rosa now brought her during the day. Maya ran up to him, her backpack bouncing. "Guess what?" she beamed. "I drew you." "You did." She opened her sketchbook, revealing a stick figure man with tall hair and glasses, holding hands with a little girl in a pink dress. Above them, in big uneven letters, it read, "My safe place." Nathan stared at it longer than he should have. "That's amazing." She beamed. "The other kids say I'm lucky that billionaires don't usually come to the rescue." He smiled faintly. "Well, this one did." They walked to the car. As Nathan buckled her seat belt, Maya glanced up at him. "Am I staying with you forever?" He hesitated. "I hope so, but there's a process. People need to make sure it's safe. Official." "Is that bad?" "No, it's just slow." She looked out the window. "Slow's okay. I waited through 100 cold nights. I can wait a few more." The next few days became a strange blend of normalcy and chaos. Maya settled into the penthouse as if it had always been hers, claiming corners, discovering how to make hot cocoa, naming the plants. But outside, the media storm grew louder. Nathan's name appeared on news tickers, headlines twisting the narrative daily. Billionaire's new cause, a homeless child or political theater? One op-ed even suggested Maya was a prop. Nathan ignored it all. His focus was on paperwork, interviews, and home inspections. Rosa helped navigate the legal maze. Nathan hired a child advocate. Every night, he read Maya to sleep. Stories about brave girls, kind monsters, and quiet heroes. One evening, as Maya painted in the living room, Nathan sat across from Rosa, reviewing forms. "She's changing you," Rosa said. Nathan looked up. "How do you mean?" "You used to talk like life was a boardroom, measurable, profitable. You don't anymore." He glanced at Maya, her fingers stained with watercolor. "I don't care about metrics now. I care," she laughs. Rosa smiled. "Then you're on the right track." The doorbell rang. Nathan opened it to find a tall man in a gray suit, badge visible. "Mr. Cole, I'm Agent Riley, Child Protection Compliance Division. We need to talk." They sat in the office. Riley opened a folder. "We've had complaints, some anonymous, allegations that Maya may be in emotional distress due to sudden media exposure, that she's being used as a branding tool." Nathan leaned back. "Let me guess, investors with shaky ethics." Riley didn't blink. "We take all concerns seriously. I'm here to assess the environment." Nathan gestured around. "See for yourself." Riley stood, moving room to room. He noted the child-friendly setups, coloring supplies, a bookshelf, a small art desk. In Maya's room, he paused. On the wall hung her newest drawing, Nathan, Maya, and Rosa under a house with a giant sun overhead. The caption read, "No more bridges." When Riley returned, he softened slightly. "She calls you a safe person." Nathan swallowed. "That's what I want to be." "We're not done, Mr. Cole, but it's a good start." That night, as Nathan tucked Maya in, she asked, "What happens if they say no?" He brushed her curls back gently. "Then we fight like in court." "Yes, and with truth. With every bit of kindness we've built here." She nodded, then whispered, "I think Mama would like you." Nathan froze. "You think so?" She always said, "Kind people shine. You shine even when you don't smile." He sat beside her until she drifted off. Her small hand curled in his. And for the first time in years, Nathan felt something unfamiliar. Not power, not control, faith. Nathan hadn't stepped into the corporate boardroom in weeks. His company, Caltech Industries, had been operating under the steady hands of its interim executives. But today, he had no choice. The board had demanded his presence for a financial update, not for a quarterly report, but to address reputational concerns. He arrived wearing a navy suit, his eyes a little tired but steady. The glass walls of the conference room framed a sweeping view of the bay. The sun was out, but the atmosphere inside was cold, sterile, tense. 12 board members sat in silence as he entered. Some offered nods, most did not. Diane Mercer, the board chair, spoke first. "Nathan, thank you for coming." He sat at the head of the table, resting his hands lightly on the polished surface. "Let's get to it." A man named Bradford, always eager to stir the pot, jumped in. "We've received investor complaints, media inquiries, and internal memos questioning whether your recent activities align with the values of this company." "You mean helping a homeless child?" Nathan asked, his voice calm. "We mean exposing the company to controversy. The narrative has taken on a life of its own." "And what narrative would you prefer?" Nathan asked. "That I ignore a child in need because it's safer for quarterly reports?" Diane leaned forward. "Nathan, this isn't personal. It's procedural. You're the face of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Every action you take reflects on us." Nathan stared at her. "Then I hope it reflects something good." Bradford spoke again. "Some shareholders are calling for your temporary resignation." A beat of silence. Nathan inhaled. "I founded this company, built it from nothing, and I've spent 2 decades making sure it stood for more than profit." No one's denying that, Diane said softly. But things have changed. The spotlight is shifting. You're not just a CEO now. You're a symbol. And symbols polarize. He stood slowly. Let me make it easy for you. If protecting a child from the cold is polarizing, then maybe I've been building the wrong kind of empire. He turned to leave. Nathan, this could hurt you, Diane called after him. He paused. What would hurt is doing nothing. Later that evening, he picked Maya up from the center. She was on the swings, pushing herself gently, hair blowing in the wind. When she saw him, she jumped off and ran toward him, backpack bouncing. Guess what? She said breathlessly. We're doing a class project about our heroes. I picked you. Nathan blinked. Me? Yeah. Mrs. Collins said we could write about anyone who made us feel safe or strong. He smiled. What did you write? She pulled out a folded sheet of paper from her pocket, worn and creased. In crooked letters it read, My hero is Nathan because he sees me. He didn't walk past. He knelt beside her, emotion catching in his throat. You're my hero too, Maya. She giggled. You don't need saving, huh? Sometimes we all do. Back at the penthouse, Rosa was waiting. She had that look, the one Nathan had come to recognize. News, she said, handing him an envelope. Court date's been set. He opened it. Custody hearing, 2 weeks. They'll be tough. They'll dig. They always do. I'll be ready. Rosa hesitated. There's something else. A reporter tracked down Maya's old neighborhood. Someone who knew her father is talking. Nathan's brows furrowed. Who? A former neighbor claims Maya's father might still be alive. He sat down. That can't be right. Rosa lowered her voice. We don't know yet. It could be noise. But the courts will look at it. If he's alive, he has parental rights. Nathan looked down the hallway. Maya was in her room, humming softly, coloring. She said he left before the flood, abandoned them. That may not matter legally. He was quiet for a long time. Then I'm not losing her. Rosa nodded. Then we fight harder. That night, Nathan found Maya asleep on the couch, her sketch pad beside her. He gently lifted her, carrying her to bed. As he tucked her in, she murmured, Don't let them take me. His heart broke. I won't, he whispered. I promise. He sat by her side until the sky turned indigo, his mind racing through contingency plans, legal briefs, and media strategies. But beneath all the noise, one truth kept rising. This wasn't about reputation anymore. It was about family. It started with a knock at the door, just after noon. Rosa opened it and found herself face to face with a man in a faded leather jacket and sun-wrinkled skin. His eyes were cautious but alert. In his hand, a crumpled folder. I'm looking for Nathan Cole, the man said. Rosa studied him. Name, James Holloway. Her heart skipped. Maya's father. He gave a hesitant nod. I saw the news, saw her face. I wasn't sure, but I think I know it's her. Nathan was in his office when Rosa brought James in. The man stood awkwardly, holding the folder like a shield. Nathan rose slowly from his chair, shoulders stiff. You left, Nathan said evenly. James's face tightened. I didn't mean to. I wasn't right in the head drinking. After her mama died in the flood, I fell apart. I didn't think I could protect her. I thought she'd be better off without me. Nathan crossed his arms. She wasn't. She lived under a bridge. She nearly starved. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Rosa stayed silent, watching both men. James opened the folder and pulled out a faded photograph, a younger Maya, maybe 4 years old, on his lap. She was everything. I failed. Nathan studied the photo. Maya's eyes were unmistakable. You came back now because of the media. No, James said firmly. Because I saw her face, and I remembered what it felt like to hold her hand. I've been clean for a year. I've been trying to get my life together. And now I want to see her. Rosa spoke up. That's not simple. There's a custody hearing. You'd need to file for parental rights. I don't want to take her away, James said quickly. I just want to know her again, even if I'm just a picture on her shelf. Nathan's jaw worked, unreadable. Let me talk to her. That evening, after dinner, Nathan sat with Maya on the balcony, wrapped in a thick blanket. The city sparkled below. I need to ask you something, he began gently. About your dad. Her body stiffened slightly. You told me he left. Nathan continued. Do you remember why? She was quiet. Then in a small voice, he got sad. After Mama, he stopped talking. Then one day, he was just gone. Nathan nodded. Would you ever want to see him again? Maya didn't answer right away. She pulled the blanket tighter. I used to pretend he'd come back, but after a while, I stopped pretending. Pretending hurts. He came today. She turned sharply. He did. Nathan nodded. He says he's been clean, that he wants to see you, if you want that. She was quiet, her eyes searching the skyline as if it might hold the answer. I don't know, she said finally. I don't want to leave here. You don't have to. No one's making you do anything. You get to choose. She leaned against him. Will you be there if I see him? Every second. She nodded once slowly. Okay, just once. The next day, Rosa arranged a neutral meeting at her community center. A quiet room, comfortable chairs, soft lighting, no press, no noise. Maya sat on one side, clutching her sketchbook. Nathan sat beside her, one hand on her back. James entered quietly. His eyes immediately found hers. Hey, little star. Maya didn't smile. She didn't run into his arms. She simply looked at him, like someone trying to remember a dream. You look taller, he said, kneeling. I guess you had to. She tilted her head. Why did you leave me? His face crumpled. Because I was broken, and I didn't know how to fix it. I thought maybe you'd be better off without me. I was wrong. She looked down. It was dark and cold. I was scared every night. James's voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, baby girl. I don't remember how you smell, she said quietly. But I remember Mama's scarf. He nodded, tears welling. She always smelled like cinnamon. You do too. They sat in silence. The room didn't try to rush them. Finally, Maya said, You can come back, but only a little. I have a new life now. James wiped his eyes. A little's more than I deserve. Later, in the car, Maya held tightly to Nathan's hand. Are you mad? Not even if I talk to him sometimes. Nathan looked at her. You can talk to anyone you want, but I'll always be here. She smiled, tired but settled. And you still want to be my forever dad? He squeezed her hand. More than ever. As the city lights passed them by, Nathan knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be courtrooms, lawyers, questions, and maybe more shadows from the past. But in that moment, with Maya's fingers curled around his, he felt ready for all of it. Because love, real love, wasn't about perfection. It was about presence. And he wasn't going anywhere. The courthouse smelled of old paper and disinfectant. A pale morning sun filtered through the high windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Nathan sat beside Maya in the waiting area, dressed in a charcoal gray suit, his jaw set. Maya wore a simple blue dress with a soft sweater, her fingers curled tightly around the sketch pad she'd carried with her since the beginning. Rosa stood nearby, clipboard in hand, glancing occasionally toward the hallway where the courtroom doors loomed. Judge Reynolds is firm but fair, she said quietly. He doesn't care about headlines. He cares about stability. Nathan nodded, eyes on Maya. She's ready. She's stronger than she knows. A bailiff called. Cole and Holloway, family court, room 3C. Maya looked up. Do I have to talk? Nathan knelt beside her. Only if you want to, but I'll be there the whole time. She nodded once, small and determined. Inside the courtroom, the air was hushed, heavy with anticipation. Judge Reynolds, an older man with sharp eyes and a tired face, sat behind a bench cluttered with case files. To his right, a court clerk typed briskly. To his left, a guardian ad litem, a woman named Harper, sat with a thick folder in her lap, studying everyone in the room. James Holloway sat across from Nathan, his hands folded, shoulders slightly slumped. His lawyer, a lean man in his 50s, whispered something to him. James gave a brief nod but kept his eyes on Maya. The proceedings began. Judge Reynolds spoke, his voice even. We are here to consider a petition for temporary legal guardianship, filed by Mr. Nathan Cole on behalf of the minor Maya Holloway. Also present is Mr. James Holloway, the child's biological father, seeking acknowledgement of parental rights. He looked up, gazing firmly. This is not a trial. It is a hearing to determine what best serves the welfare of the child. The room held its breath. Nathan's attorney began by presenting a timeline: Maya's rescue, her physical and psychological evaluations, Nathan's suitability as guardian, and the efforts he had made to create a stable home. Letters of recommendation were submitted. Rosa testified briefly, her voice unwavering. She wasn't just given shelter, Rosa said. She was given dignity, a place to grow, not just survive. Then came Harper, the court-appointed evaluator. I visited the Cole residence twice, she said. The environment is safe, nurturing, and Maya exhibits signs of increased emotional security. She refers to Mr. Cole as her safe person. Her drawings consistently depict him as a central figure in her world. The judge turned to James. Mr. Holloway, you claim to be rehabilitated. Why now? James stood. Because I failed her once, and I swore I'd never fail her again. I don't want to take her away from a good home, but I want to be a part of her life, even if it's just from the edges. The courtroom was still. The judge nodded, then motioned to Maya. Maya, would you like to speak? Nathan looked at her, giving her a small, steady nod. Maya stepped forward, her sketch pad clutched in both hands. She climbed into the witness chair. Her feet didn't touch the floor. My name is Maya, she began softly. I used to live under a bridge. It was loud and cold. I didn't know when I'd eat next. Then I met Mr. Nathan. He gave me food, then a bed, then hugs. He listens. He doesn't get mad when I wake up from nightmares. She looked directly at the judge. I still miss my mom. I don't remember everything about her. I still love my dad even though he left. But Mr. Nathan stayed. He reads to me. He tells me I matter. He told me I could stay. She opened her sketch pad and turned it around. The page showed a drawing of a house with 2 doors, one labeled Dad, the other Home. She pointed at the latter. I want to stay home. There wasn't a sound in the courtroom. Even James lowered his head. Judge Reynolds tapped his pen thoughtfully. Then he looked at both men. Mr. Holloway, Mr. Cole, I believe both of you care for Maya, but guardianship is not about potential. It's about presence. He turned to Maya. You've made your feelings clear, young lady. She nodded solemnly. The judge leaned forward. Effective immediately, the court grants Mr. Nathan Cole temporary full guardianship of Maya Holloway. Mr. Holloway, you are granted supervised visitation under conditions to be determined. James blinked hard, nodded once slowly. Thank you. Maya smiled faintly. The gavel fell. Afterward, outside the courthouse, Maya clutched Nathan's hand. Is this forever? It's the beginning of forever, he said. Reporters shouted questions as they stepped into the sunlight. Nathan didn't answer. He simply bent down, lifted Maya into his arms, and carried her past the cameras. Not as a symbol, but as a father. For the first time, she didn't hide her face, and he didn't look back. In the days after the hearing, the world outside moved on with its noise and new scandals, fresh headlines, and shifting stock prices. But inside Nathan's penthouse, the air had changed. It felt softer, warmer, like a space finally lived in. Maya's laughter now echoed in the halls. Her sketchbooks lined the shelves. Her stuffed giraffe sat proudly beside the couch pillows. Nathan had even installed a chalkboard wall in the hallway, so she could draw whenever inspiration struck. One particularly gray morning, Nathan stood by the kitchen island, sipping his coffee as Maya concentrated on writing something at the dining table. "What are you working on over there?" he asked. "A letter," she said, tongue slightly between her lips. "To who?" "To me," she replied, then looked up and grinned. "But future me?" He chuckled. "Can I read it?" "Not yet. It's still becoming." Nathan watched her for a moment, marveling at how different she looked now. Still small, still fragile in some ways, but there was strength in her shoulders, light in her eyes. Later that afternoon, Rosa stopped by with a large manila envelope. "Paperwork," she said. "All signed. You're officially her legal guardian for the next year. After that, we apply for permanency." Nathan opened the envelope and looked at the stamped forms. For a moment, he didn't say anything. He just held the weight of it all in his hands. "She's made this place her own," Rosa said, glancing around at the chalkboard wall and the framed drawings. "So have you." "She made it feel like a home," he replied. That evening, Nathan and Maya curled up on the couch with popcorn and a documentary about sea turtles. Halfway through, Maya asked, "Do turtles ever get adopted?" Nathan paused. "In a way, yeah. Some people rescue them, care for them, and then set them free when they're ready." She thought for a moment. "I don't want to be set free yet." "You won't be," he said, brushing a curl from her forehead. "You're not a turtle. You're my girl." She rested her head on his arm, and within minutes, she was asleep. Nathan sat there in the dim glow of the screen, the soft rise and fall of her breath against him, and felt a peace deeper than any stock market success or gala applause had ever given him. But the peace didn't last long. The next morning, as he checked his email, a subject line jumped out. "Urgent. Maya's story unauthorized documentary in production." He clicked it. A media company had announced an upcoming special titled The Girl Under the Bridge, The Untold Story of Maya Holloway. It included leaked photos, partial interviews with people from Maya's old neighborhood, and an anonymous source claiming Maya was being used as a publicity tool by a billionaire. Nathan swore under his breath. He called Rosa. "I saw it," she said before he could speak. "I'm already looking into the source. It's likely someone from the shelter she passed through. They're twisting it. She's just a child. We can file a cease and desist, but it won't stop the whispers. If this airs, it could drag her past through the mud again. We have to be ready." Nathan looked down the hallway, where Maya was singing softly to herself, building a fort out of pillows and blankets. "She can't know." "Not yet," he said. "Let her have this moment." 2 days later, Nathan appeared unannounced at the production company's office. A war notier, no just him, a folder of legal documents, and eyes that no longer cared about diplomacy. "I'm here about the documentary," he told the receptionist. After several tense minutes, he was led into a glass conference room where 2 executives sat, flanked by legal counsel. They looked smug, untouchable. "We're within our rights to tell a public interest story," one of them said. "The child's story inspired millions." "And that child," Nathan said, voice low, "is 8 years old. She's been through trauma, displacement, abandonment. She is not your content." "It's a powerful narrative." "She's a person," Nathan snapped, "not a plot point." He slid the legal folder across the table. "You air this, we sue defamation, exploitation, emotional damage. You'll lose everything you've built chasing this." The room was quiet. Then one of the lawyers spoke. "We'll review." Nathan stood. "You have 24 hours." He walked out without waiting for a reply. That evening back home, Maya ran up to him with a new drawing. "This one's us on the moon," she said proudly. "Because I think even if the whole world broke, we'd still find each other." He took the paper, his throat tightening. "You're right," he said. "Did something bad happen?" she asked suddenly, eyes narrowing in that way only children do when they sense more than they're told. "No," he said, kneeling down to her level. "But someone tried to tell your story without asking you. I stopped them." Her face darkened slightly. "Why would they do that?" "Because people don't always see others. They see headlines. They see ways to be noticed. But your story belongs to you." She stared at him for a moment. "Can I write my story someday?" "You already are." She nodded and leaned into him. And Nathan realized in that moment with crystal clarity that protecting Maya wasn't about shielding her from the world. It was about helping her own her voice, her past, her future, and making sure no one ever tried to write over her again. Spring came to the city slowly, brushing its color over the gray corners, one flower at a time. Nathan noticed it most in the way Maya seemed to bloom too, laughing more freely, sleeping through the night, asking deeper questions at breakfast. Her drawings filled their home now, not just the chalkboard wall, but tucked in books, pinned to the fridge, slipped under his door with titles like Things I Dreamed or Ideas for Us. One Saturday morning, as sunlight spilled through the windows, Maya appeared with her sketchbook and a serious look. "We need a garden," she declared. Nathan blinked mid-coffee. "A garden on the roof? There's all this space and no flowers." "Flowers make places feel like somebody cares." He looked out toward the private rooftop terrace, which until now had only been used for the occasional barbecue or evening glass of wine. "You know, I think you're right." The next week became a flurry of activity. Nathan made calls. Rosa connected him with a local community garden organizer who agreed to help. Maya drew up plans: rows of lavender and marigold, a corner for tomatoes and strawberries, a winding path of stepping stones. They built it together. Maya wore gloves 3 sizes too big. Nathan tried to act like he knew what he was doing with a trowel. Dirt got everywhere. Laughter did, too. Neighbors came to watch. Some joined in. An older woman from the next building offered compost. A retired firefighter donated old crates for planters. The rooftop became something else entirely, a place of shared effort and growing color. One afternoon, as they planted basil, Maya asked, "Why don't more people do this?" "Do what?" "Make space for things to grow." He looked at her, then at the skyline. "Because it's easier to build walls." She pressed the soil down gently around the roots. "We're planting windows." Nathan smiled. "Yeah, we are." But even as things blossomed above, something darker stirred below. The media buzz around Maya had quieted but not disappeared. Despite Nathan's legal threats, fragments of her story continued to circulate. Out-of-focus photos, third-hand rumors, even a misleading article in a tabloid suggesting Nathan was grooming her for inheritance. At first, Nathan ignored it, but then it reached Maya. She was scrolling through a tablet one evening, researching bee pollination for the garden. When she paused, her face changed. He walked over quickly. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward him. The article headline read, "Maya Holloway, From Bridge to Billionaire." Beneath it, a blurry photo of them on the rooftop, laughing with shovels in hand. "Are they saying I'm using you?" she asked. Nathan's stomach twisted. That article is garbage, written by people who don't understand what love looks like. But other kids might see it at school. What if they believe it? He crouched beside her. "Then we show them who you are. We don't fight lies with silence. We fight them with truth." She was quiet, then asked, "Can we have an open garden day? Invite people. Show them." He paused, surprised. "You want people to come here?" She nodded. "Let them see what we built, not what they write about." The next 2 weeks were a blur of planning. Maya designed invitations, bright hand-drawn cards that read, "Come see what we grew." Rosa helped reach out to local schools and community groups. Nathan arranged security, media guidelines, and permits. When the day came, the rooftop garden was alive with color and noise. Neighbors mingled with strangers. Children darted between tomato plants. A local musician played acoustic songs. Maya led tours with a clipboard in hand, explaining which herbs needed shade, which flowers were butterfly favorites. Nathan watched her from across the garden, amazed. A woman approached him, mid-50s, sharp eyes. "I'm a teacher," she said. "Read all about you two." Didn't believe any of it. He braced for more. She smiled. "But I came here, and I saw this, and now I believe in her." Nathan exhaled. "Thank you." As the sun began to set, Maya stood on a small bench and called out to the crowd. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I used to live under a bridge. Now I live in a garden. I didn't do it alone, but now it's mine too. And if you ever need help growing something, we'll be here." The crowd applauded. Nathan felt his throat tighten. Later, as the last guests left, Maya stood beside him, looking out over the city lights. "You okay?" he asked. "I think I'm proud," she said. "Is that allowed?" "It's more than allowed. It's earned." She leaned against him. "Can we keep planting more stuff?" "Absolutely. Even if it doesn't always grow. Especially then," he said. "Because planting is hope." And as the stars came out one by one above their rooftop garden, Nathan knew this chapter of their story, was no longer about rescue or headlines or proving worth. It was about growing something that would outlast all of that. And they had only just begun. The garden had become their ritual. Every morning before emails and meetings, before school and traffic, Nathan and Maya stepped onto the rooftop and greeted their plants like old friends. Maya named each flower, spoke to the strawberries as if they were toddlers, and scolded the basil for getting too wild. One crisp April morning, she paused while watering the marigolds. "Do you think Mama would like this place?" Nathan looked up from trimming the rosemary. "I think she'd love it." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Sometimes I forget her face, and I hate that." He put down the clippers. "That doesn't mean you loved her any less. Memories are funny. They hold what we need, even if we can't always see it." She nodded, but her face was distant. That afternoon, after Maya left for school, Nathan sat alone on the terrace, turning over something in his mind. He pulled out his phone and dialed Rosa. "I've been thinking," he said, "about adoption." There was a pause. "You ready?" she asked gently. "I don't know if I'm ready," he said, "but I know I can't imagine life without her. I want her to know permanently that this isn't temporary, that I'm not going anywhere. You know, it's another legal process, home study again, psychological evaluations, court appearances. I know she'll need to be asked. I will. I want to do it right." That evening, after dinner, Maya sat at the kitchen counter drawing a map of an imaginary island where the flowers talked and clouds were made of cotton candy. Nathan approached slowly, his hands tucked into his pockets. "Hey," he said, "can I ask you something important?" She looked up, curious. "You know how we've built this life together? The garden, the breakfasts, the hugs." She nodded. "I was thinking maybe we could make it official, legally forever." Her eyes widened. "You mean adoption?" "Yes." There was a beat of silence. "Will my name change?" she asked. "Only if you want to." She smiled, then looked at her drawing. "Can I still be Holloway?" "Of course." She paused. "But I'd like to be Maya Holloway Cole. Is that okay?" Nathan felt something crack open in his chest. "That's more than okay," he said. She jumped off the stool and hugged him so tightly that it startled him. "Yes, yes, yes, yes." They stayed that way for a while, arms around each other, breathing in the moment. The process began the next day. Rosa helped file the petition. Social workers revisited their home. Maya was interviewed again, this time more confidently. She told the evaluator, "He doesn't just take care of me. He lets me take care of him, too." The adoption hearing was scheduled for early June, but not everyone was thrilled. Nathan received a call from James Holloway 3 days before the hearing. "Are you sure about this?" James asked. Nathan was sitting in his office, staring out the window. "I'm sure she's still my daughter, and she always will be. This doesn't erase you. It just gives her stability, security, a name that tells the world she has a family that's permanent." James was quiet. "Then I want to be there for the hearing." Nathan hesitated. "If it's what Maya wants." That night, he asked her. "I think it's okay," Maya said slowly. "He's still part of my story, just not the whole story." The day of the hearing arrived. It was nothing like the custody hearing. This courtroom was smaller, brighter, almost cheerful. The judge, a woman in her 60s, wore a gentle smile. Maya wore her favorite yellow dress. Nathan wore a tie for the first time in months. Rosa sat behind them, holding tissues just in case. The judge addressed Maya directly. "Do you know what today is about?" Maya nodded. "It's the day I get to tell the world where I belong." "And where is that?" She looked up at Nathan. "With him." The judge smiled. "Then let's make it official." The gavel fell. The paperwork was signed. Nathan was handed a certificate. Adoption finalized. Maya Holloway Cole. As they walked out of the building, James met them on the steps. He looked at Maya. "You okay, little star?" She nodded. "You can still visit, but I live here now." He smiled sadly. "I know." He turned to Nathan, extending a hand. "Take care of her." Nathan took it. "Always." That night, They held a small celebration on the rooftop. Just a few neighbors, Rosa, and a cake shaped like a sunflower. Maya stood up on a planter box and raised a glass of apple cider. "To new names," she said, "and the same love." Everyone clapped. Later, as the stars blinked awake, Nathan tucked her into bed. "Do you feel different?" he asked. "A little," she said sleepily. "Like the ground under me is stronger." He kissed her forehead. "That's because it is." As she drifted off, Nathan sat by her side, holding the certificate in his hands. It wasn't just paper, it was a promise, and he intended to keep it for the rest of his life. Summer settled gently over the city. The garden thrived, thicker, fuller, brighter than ever before. Bees danced lazily between the blooms. Strawberries ripened along the edge of the planters. The lavender spread wide like open arms. Nathan found peace in the small things now, in the way Maya hummed while brushing her teeth, in the way she asked deeper questions at breakfast, in how she always took a second cookie, not out of greed, but to save it for later, just in case. They were a family now, and it showed in everything. One morning, as they sat together on the rooftop sipping fresh lemonade, Maya glanced up from her notebook. "Do you ever wonder why we found each other?" she asked. Nathan thought for a long moment. "Every day. I think it was supposed to be hard," she said, "so we'd know how special it is now." He looked at her, awed once again by her capacity to understand things most adults couldn't touch. "That might be the wisest thing anyone's ever said to me," he replied. She smiled and went back to her notebook. It was moments like that, quiet, unassuming, rich with unspoken meaning, that defined this new chapter of their lives. But not everything was quiet. In mid-July, Nathan received a call from a nonprofit leader who had read Maya's story. They were launching a new initiative, Bridges to Roots, aimed at building transitional homes for homeless children, particularly those aging out of foster care. They asked if Nathan would consider becoming a founding donor and maybe even the face of the campaign. He hesitated. "I'm not interested in using her story for press," he said firmly. "We're not asking for a spectacle," the woman on the line said. "We're asking for a symbol. Something real." He thought of Maya's garden, of her voice that once whispered, "Don't let them take me," and now declared, "This is where I belong." "I'll talk to her," he said. That evening, as the sun dipped low, Nathan sat beside Maya on the couch and explained the idea. "They want to build places for kids like you." "Before we met," she tilted her head. "You mean a place that feels like a garden, even if it's just walls?" "Exactly. Can we visit one first? Before you say yes." "Of course." 2 weeks later, they visited a shelter on the south side, clean, underfunded, but run by people who cared. Maya sat with a group of younger kids, telling them stories about the garden, showing them photos. One girl asked, "Is that your dad?" Maya looked at Nathan and smiled. "He's my forever." The decision became easy after that. Nathan donated the initial seed money. He appeared in a video briefly, simply speaking, not as a billionaire, but as a father who had witnessed what stability could do for a soul. Maya's drawing of a blooming rooftop garden became the logo for the campaign. In 3 months, they raised over $4 million. But the most powerful moment came during the ribbon cutting of the first facility. Maya stood before a crowd of donors, press, and families, holding her speech with both hands. "I used to think I was just lucky," she began, like a raindrop that fell into the right puddle. "But then I realized I grew because someone made room for me. They didn't just give me shelter, they gave me roots. And I think every kid deserves a place where they can stop running." She paused. "So, we built one, and this is just the beginning." The applause was thunderous, but what mattered more was the silence that followed, the kind of silence that meant people were listening, really listening. Afterward, as Nathan helped Maya down from the podium, she looked up at him. "Did I sound too grown up?" "No," he said. "You sounded like someone who knows exactly who she is." That night back at home, she pulled out the letter she'd once written to her future self. "Can I read it to you now?" she asked. He nodded. She opened it carefully and began. "Dear me, you were scared once, but you're not anymore. You have a garden now, and someone who stayed. Don't forget how dark it was, but don't let it stop you from walking in the sun. Her voice trembled slightly on the last line. You're not broken. You're blooming. Nathan wiped his eyes. That's beautiful. She leaned against him. I think I'm ready to write another one for someone else. Who? Another kid who thinks they'll never be found. He kissed the top of her head. Let's help them find their way. And as the stars unfolded above their rooftop garden, Maya Holloway Cole, once invisible, once unheard, sat with her father in the quiet joy of everything they had built together. Not out of luck, but out of love, out of roots, and the promise that no one would ever be forgotten again. The story of Maya and Nathan teaches us that healing doesn't always come in grand gestures. It grows quietly, like a garden, with care, patience, and love. It reminds us that every child deserves not just shelter, but belonging, not just survival, but a place to bloom. In a world quick to judge and slow to listen, this story is a call to see the unseen, to offer presence over pity, and to understand that sometimes the greatest acts of justice are done not in courtrooms, but in living rooms when someone chooses to stay.